In type 2 diabetes mellitus, the insulin deficiency is only relative. So the first patient should be tried on oral hypoglycemic agents, and if they are not maintaining an oral hypoglycemic agents, then injectables like GLP-1 receptor agonist can be tried, and if they fail to do so, then insulin treatment should be considered. But there is one exception to this above said scenario. In this exception, if the following features are present, the early insulin treatment should be considered in such patients. The features are: number 1, ongoing catabolism like weight loss, hypertriglyceridemia, and ketosis. Number 2, if symptoms of hyperglycemia are present with RBS more than 300 or HbA1c more than 10%. So in such scenario, early insulin treatment should be considered. But remember, once the catabolism has been resolved and symptoms of hyperglycemia have been resolved and the patient is stable, then we can shift the patient from insulin to oral hypoglycemic agents. So before we are going to learn about how to prescribe insulin therapy to the patient, just have a brief information about the pharmacokinetics of different insulin preparations. There are rapid or short-acting insulins like insulin lispro, aspart, and glulicin. So these rapid or short-acting insulins have onset of action from 10 to 20 minutes and duration of action 3 to 5 hours. And one more thing is soluble regular insulin. The onset of action is within 30 to 60 minutes after injection and duration of action is 6 to 8 hours. So when we compare these rapid or short-acting insulin from soluble regular insulin, so short-acting rapid-acting insulins like lispro, aspart, glulicin are more effective in control of postprandial hyperglycemia because this duration of action is 3 to 5 hours, so which is equal to postprandial glucose excursion. So these are best opt for control of postprandial blood sugar levels with few hypoglycemic attacks. And these rapid or short-acting insulins must be given with each meal to cover the postprandial hyperglycemia. Next comes intermediate acting insulins like isofen insulin and lenti insulin. These have duration of action 10 to 16 hours. So these should be given in a twice daily dosage. And this act as a basal insulin. And this should be prescribed with together with short acting or rapid acting insulins. So next comes longer acting insulins which have duration of action from 18 to 24 hours. So these are also called as longer acting insulins and basal insulins. This should be prescribed in a OD dose. So the injections are Glargine, the brand name Lantus, Detemer, the brand name Levemir, and Degludec, the brand name Novo Nordisk. So the one more thing is this basal analogs which can be given OD will have less hypoglycemia risk when compared to intermediate acting basal insulins. And one more thing is the Degludec is also called as ultra long acting because it has a TF of 25 hours. So these basal insulins should be preferred over isofen or lenti insulins as these have less hypoglycemia and less weight gain risk. So now let's discuss about the most important and interesting topic, how to prescribe insulin to the patient. So when the patient is not able to control on oral hypoglycemic agents and then injectables like GLP-1 receptor agonist should be started. So if patient is not affordable, then we should directly go to the insulin. So if the patient is affordable, the insulin should be added to the GLP-1 receptor agonist drugs. So whatever the insulin, how to initiate the insulin. So the first step in the initiation of insulin is to add only the basal insulin or only single dose NPH or single dose longer acting basal insulins. So how to initiate it? So we can give it either in the morning or in the night. This basal insulin should be started as a 10 units per dose or 0.1 to 0.2 units per kg. And we have to set the obvious target and we have to adjust this basal dose 2 units up titration or down titration for every 3 to 7 days once. If hypoglycemia is there, we have to reduce the dose by 10 to 20%. So when the patient is on basal insulin, so we can give oral hypoglycemic agents also. So metformin, DPP-4 inhibitors, SGLT2 inhibitors, thiazolidinediones and GLP-1 receptor agonist can be continued with the basal insulin regimen. But usage of sulfonylureas with basal insulin is less popular and less preferred as more hypoglycemia risk is there. The metformin with basal insulin have many benefits, like it will blunt the weight gain associated with basal insulin, and it will decrease the dose of basal insulin needed to control the blood sugar levels. So giving oral hypoglycemic agents with basal is a very advantageous, because it will decrease the need of higher doses of basal insulin that should be given. When the patient is on NPH and oral hypoglycemic agents and FBS is maintaining, but still the NPH doses that are needed to reach the FBS target are more than 0.5 units per kg, or if A1C is above the target but FBS is controlled, in such scenario we have to add prandial insulin. It is better to cover the single largest meal that is associated with the highest postprandial glucose excursions. So this is called as basal plus regimen. That means it includes basal insulin plus one short acting or rapid acting insulin, which will cover the meal with largest postprandial sugar excursions. The short acting insulin or rapid acting insulin dose that should be started should be 10% of basal insulin or 4 units per dose. This short acting dose should be increased 1 to 2 units or 10 to 15% twice weekly. So when this combination therapy of basal insulin and short acting insulin has been started, the metformin baseline can be maintained, whereas sulfonylureas and DPP4 inhibitors should be discontinued. If larger insulin doses are required, thiazolidinones and SGLT2 inhibitors can be continued. After starting basal plus regimen, if still the HbA1c target has not been reached, then we can add stepwise short acting or rapid acting insulins with additional meals. So in such a way we can proceed to full basal bolus regimen. So the basal bolus regimen is nothing but once or twice basal insulin together with coverage of 3 meals with short acting or rapid acting insulins. So these short acting or rapid acting insulin should be given as a bolus doses, and the basal should be given as once or twice daily as a longer acting insulin. So this is called as full basal bolus regimen. Or we can, if patient is not comfortable with this many doses, then we can start off pre-mixed insulin as a twice daily dosing. So let's discuss in detail about basal bolus regimen. In basal bolus regimen, once or twice daily basal insulin should be given together with 3 boluses of short acting insulins. So before we start, we have to calculate total daily dose of insulin, TTD of daily dose of insulin. So it is nothing but 0.6 to 1 unit per kg body weight. Among this total daily dose of insulin, 50% should be given as a basal regimen and 50% should be given as a 3 boluses divided over 3 meals. So titrate the insulin dose by 2 to 3 units every 3 to 7 days. The basal insulin dose should be titrated depending upon FBS levels, whereas a boluses insulin level should be titrated depending upon a pre-lunch, pre-dinner and bedtime blood sugar levels. If FBS is 120 to 140, then basal dose should be increased by 2. If FBS is 141 to 160, then basal dose should be increased by 4. If FBS is 161 to 180, then basal dose should be increased by 6. If FBS is more than 180, the basal dose should be increased by 8. The titration of bolus insulin should be done by calculating correction dose. The correction dose is nothing but the 1 unit of insulin will decrease how much blood sugar levels. So it should be calculated by 1500 divided by total daily dose of insulin. For example, the patient is on short acting insulin TID, the dose is 8, 6, 10, and NPH BD, the dose is 8 and 18. So the total daily dose of insulin is 50. So the correction factor is 1500 by 50, that is 30. So 1 unit of short acting insulin will decrease 30 mg per deciliter of blood sugar levels. For suppose we have checked GRBS before the lunch, it was 240, but the target that should be before the lunch should be less than 180. So 60 mg per deciliter blood sugar is more than the target. So with the lunch, as we are giving 6 as discussed previously, to that 6 we have to add additional insulin to decrease to cover this 60 extra blood sugar levels. So as we have seen, 1 unit of short acting insulin will decrease 30 units. For this extra 60, 2 units insulin should be given additionally. So 6 plus 2, that is with the lunch we have to give 8 units, not 6. So like this we have to titrate the bolus insulin doses with each meal. But later we can fix the dose by maintaining the consistent food intake. So now let's discuss about pre-mixed insulins. So pre-mixed insulins will require only 2 doses, so they are comfortable for the patient, but they are less flexible as the regular or short-acting insulins and basal insulins are already fixed in doses and they cannot be adjusted individually. So the pre-mixed insulins available are pre-mixed human insulin, that is 70% NPH with 30% regular, or 50% NPH with 50% regular, and pre-mixed insulin analogs like 75% neutral protamine lispro with 25% lispro, 50% neutral protamine lispro with 50% lispro, or 70% protamine aspart with 30% aspart. So the pre-mixed insulin should be started as a 0.2 to 0.5 units per day depending upon blood glucose levels. If it is less than 9 HbA1c, then 0.2. If it is more than 9% HbA1c, then 0.4 or 0.5 units per day. So if total daily dose is less than 20 units, then we can give once daily dose either morning or evening. And patients who are reluctant to start insulin also should be given once daily pre-mixed insulin solutions. If total daily dose is more than 20, then we have to start twice daily, that is with morning and evening meal. The total daily dose should be divided with 2/3 in the morning and 1/3 in the night, or 1/2 in the morning or 1/2 in the night. So the initial insulin that should be started should be 70 by 30 or 75 by 25 regimens. So if daily single dose exceeds more than 30 units in the either morning or night, then we have to prefer 50:50 solution, and we have to titrate the premixed insulin dose once or twice weekly for 12 weeks, then followed by once every 2 weeks thereafter. If pre-meal blood sugar levels are less than 100, we have to deduct 2 units from the dose. If pre-meal sugars are 100 to 110, we should continue the same dose. If it is 110 to 140, we have to add 2 units. If it is 140 to 180, we have to add 4 units. If it is more than 180, we have to add 6 units. So if FBS level is not maintaining, we have to adjust night dose, and if pre-dinner dose is not maintaining, we have to adjust morning dose. So this is all about how to initiate and how to titrate the different insulin regimens. Thank you for watching. Watch next video for how to initiate and how to titrate oral hypoglycemic agents and the art of prescription of oral hypoglycemic agents in type 2 diabetes mellitus.